Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, I'm going to talk about why you're probably not successful and haven't gotten the help from the people who can help you, right? And I say this as a person who's actually in a position to help a lot of people. And what happens is that many people do stupid things and scare the people away who can help them. They actually do, okay? And one of the most important things that to understand is that if we want the people in our lives who can help us, we have to make sure that we don't do certain things, right? Success in life is not just about the things that you do, it's also about the things that you don't do, okay? And I'm going to tell you something. Most people don't understand the concept of not doing certain things. You know what I mean? Like not looking at your phone while you're talking to other people. Little things like that, which actually become big things, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you why I don't like to help most people. I'll tell you why. Because every time I'm in a position to help most people don't want to admit that I'm actually in that position. Okay, so they'll try to like talk to me in certain ways and say, "Oh my goodness, look at all this money you make if you take my deal." And I'm in a position where I don't need money. How many people can actually say that I'm in a position where I don't need your money? I'm in a position like that, and you know how I'm, how I know I'm like that. You know how I know? Just look at this: 30-year mortgage paid off under 3 years, right? And so when we're in front of people, okay, who are in a position that where they're in a much better position, which they can teach us something or just help us, give us a helping hand. You know what happens with most people? Their egos get the best of them. Their egos get the best of them, and they always act like they got to know more than the people who are at a higher position than them. Okay, and I'll give you an example of this. Even in my own situation, I could give you an example of this how you might screw this up. Okay, so and I've talked about this gentleman in other YouTube videos, but I met this gentleman through a Craigslist type ad in a Korean website that's very popular. Okay. It's very popular among Koreans. It's like a Craigslist type ad, and I was looking for students to sell real estate and education to in the Korean boards, people whose first language is not English, okay? And there was a gentleman who called the number, who called me. He didn't even call me. He called an associate of mine, and she said, "Hey, I don't even, you take this guy, okay?" And so I called him back, and I was like kind of confused because he was like, um, he wasn't a student. He's been in the game for a long time. He told me he had commercial properties in 5 states, okay? He had commercial properties in 5 states, and I just decided to meet him. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm looking for students, but hey, if you got experience, let's see what you got, right? And you know what I did not do when I met him? I'll tell you where most people would screw this up. Okay, I'll tell you what most people would do in this position. I'll tell you what I did not do. Okay, and this is a guy who's been in the real estate game since the 90s. Like you look at him, you don't really suspect, whoa, like this guy knows what he's doing, right? Because he seems like, very humble, Asian-esque gentleman, from that baby boomer era. So it's not like too flashy or anything. And then, but it kind of is flashy, and I'll tell you why. Um, I remember when I first met him, I just, this is what I did. I told him I was not experienced in real estate and I just had one property, right? You see where I'm going with this? Because for a man who has 5 commercial properties and is making millions of dollars and he can actually show me in his smartphone, okay, show me in his smartphone that he has millions of dollars, you know what he told me? Like, and he said, hey, I'll lend you millions of dollars if you got a real estate deal. Now, I don't have a real estate deal like that because if you know what I'm doing, I'm just doing like one single family house every couple of years, right? That was my plan. And so when I heard that he'd lend me millions of dollars, I was just kind of shocked because I don't know anybody like that in the real estate game. I'm gonna be honest with you. And so you know what I did not do, and this is where most people would screw up. They would have said, "Hey man, you should lend me money because I know this thing called Velocity Banking and I paid off my mortgage under 3 years." You see where I'm going with this? You see how most people are stupid and they don't understand. You know that theme song from the '90s wrestling, The Rock. Shut your mouth and know your role. You know what I'm talking about? Most people can't do that because their ego gets the best of them. So when they talk to someone like me, or yes, if I compare myself to that guy who has millions of dollars in smartphone, because guess how much I got on my bank account? I got zero because I'm doing velocity banking. So if he's got five commercial properties and he has millions of dollars in smartphone, and he still, let's say he hasn't even paid off any of his loans, he's doing way better than I am. You see where I'm getting with this? So I don't tell him, oh my goodness, you need to work with me because I know this thing called velocity banking and I paid off my mortgage under 3 years. Yeah, but he's got the millions of dollars in his bank account even if he has debt. You know what I mean? And because you need to learn to shut your mouth and understand where you are, and think about that 90s WWF theme song, The Rock, Know Your Role, right? Because most people don't do that because of their ego. They scare away people who can help them, right? They scare away, and that's why, because I did not, again, it's not about what we do. Sometimes it's about what we don't do. Because I did not do that in front of that gentleman, that's why he's willing to lend me millions of dollars. I just act cool, right? Like I just tell him the truth because there's always ways to frame our accomplishments, right? So maybe in front of a group of people who don't understand the estate game or who have no experience, I'd be saying, look at me. I paid off a property, 4 years or 2 years using this thing called velocity banking, right? And that means you don't have too many houses, right? I only got like one house, one rental house. Now, in front of a crowd where they're starting out, I would definitely go at that angle. But from in front of someone who has more experience and more money than me, I'm just going to shut up and say, "Oh, I'm a beginner to the real estate game, and I only got one property." Right? You see what I'm saying? But most people can't do that. What they do in front of the rich person is act like, "Oh my goodness, like look at me. I know this thing called velocity banking, and I'm going to pay off these properties in 2 to 3 years." Like, shut your mouth. You know what I mean? You gotta learn how to shut your mouth. Okay? Because you scare away people like that because they know that they have millions of dollars and you don't. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing with me. I know I got money and I don't need it. And so when you accuse people who are trying to help you and scare them away, you're wondering like why no one's out there to help you. You see what I'm saying? Like, but most people don't think like that because they're always trying to act like they're better than the other person that they're talking to. And you kind of have to understand, like, just listen and maybe humble yourself. Like, for example, if I'm the best high school wrestler and I'm meeting like the I don't know, Kurt Angle, the gold Olympian, I think he's like 5-time gold Olympian. I'm not going to brag about how I went to state. I'm going to shut my mouth. You know what I mean? I'm going to shut my mouth. But most people can't do that. Most people can't do that. Their ego gets the best of them, and they always act like they gotta be better than the other person they're talking to, and then wonder why that person does not want to do anything with them, right? And they're not even conscious of that. They just scare people away, right? Think about that. Think about that when you talk to other people and are wondering why doesn't this person want to work with me? It's because it's about what you did. It's about you did stuff that you shouldn't have done. Okay, and sometimes it's better to do nothing, and it's important to recognize that we got to sometimes shut our mouth and not do anything. Okay, I'm not going to go. I've never went up to this gentleman and said, oh my goodness, I paid off my mortgage under 3 years and I know this thing called velocity banking, therefore you should lend millions of dollars to me. You know what I did? I shut up, I listened. I was like, wow, you've been doing real estate since the 90s, you have five commercial properties, and you're you just offered to lend millions of dollars to me? Wow. Wow, okay, cool. I'm a beginner at this game. I only got one rental property. You see how that works? Not, oh my goodness, like I'm so, I can't even like I don't even know how to explain this because I really think people are really just stupid, right? People scare other people away who can help them, right? And that's the sad truth. This is why I won't introduce that man to most people I know because that's just the way that most people are, right? Like, they say, hey, don't you want to introduce or refer people to your network? I don't know. If the network is, if people act stupid, I kind of don't, right? I don't want to ruin my relationship with this lender who's going to lend me millions of dollars to someone who would actually do what I said, like they'd F it up, which is tell someone who makes much more money than you, that you know more than them, and therefore you should work with them. That's unfortunate. That happens a lot more than you think it would, right? So yeah. All right. Well, that's it for today. This is Green Atlanta Mentorship. Remember, kids, and some of you are probably older than me. Actually, most of you are older than me if you look at the YouTube analytics. But success in life is not just about what you do, it's also about what you don't do. Okay? What you don't do. Just like, if we're going to eat a healthy diet, we don't eat at McDonald's. If we're going to get the help of other people who are more successful than us, then we don't act like an idiot and act like, we know more than them. People know where they are. Like, I know the gentleman knows that he has millions of dollars because he just shows me in his smartphone. Heck, I do the same thing now with my line of credit, but again, I don't have actual cash in my checking account. So once I get to the point where I got millions of dollars in my checking account without the help of a line of credit, that's when I know I'm the shiz. You know what I mean? Like, I got it. But even when I'm at that level, I'm not going to be helping most people because I know what most people are going to do. They're going to act stupid, just like how I talked about. Okay? All right. So this is a Karina Atlanta mentorship. So, moral of the story: if you have a mortgage paid off in 3 years, but you meet someone who has 5 commercial properties and makes millions of dollars and has it in a smartphone, can show you and say, "Hey, I'll lend it to you," don't act stupid and say, "Oh my goodness, you got to lend it to me because I know this thing called velocity banking, or I paid off my mortgage in 3 years." Right? Act a little bit humble. Know where you are. Know that you can learn from other people. Right? Most people can't do that because of their ego. Okay. All right. Oh man, Karina Lenta mentorship. All right. So have a great night, everybody. And let me end with my catchphrase for today. And if you don't know what my catchphrase is, then I'll probably give up after 1 or 2 videos. Credit is the gift that keeps on giving. Boom. Okay. All right. Have a good night, everybody.